Is Donald Trump's plan, if you want to call it that, to deal with the coronavirus just a variation, a modern day variation on the old eugenics of Woodrow Wilson? Check this out. Leave your comments, ding the bell, share it with your friends, and subscribe to our channel. Lamont in Indianapolis. Hey, Lamont, what's on your mind today?
Hey, Tom, how you doing?
Good. What's up?
Well, I want to piggyback on what you're saying. I'm a big geek, and I watch X-Men, and I don't know if you follow it, but they have a villain by the name of Apocalypse, and he feels that, the mutant race is more superior than the regular humans. And he has this saying, the survival of the fittest. And I just feel like that's the way Donald Trump and the rich Republicans are thinking. That whoever makes it out of this in the end, oh, good luck to you. Well, we're all right. And their policies and his thinking of this whole, it doesn't seem like he's even worried about the little people.
Yeah, it's called social Darwinism and goes back hundreds of years. It was used to justify white supremacy and still is, but it was, one of the principal justifications, for slavery and things like that. This whole idea that there is a superior race. I mean, this was Hitler's whole shtick, right? And that some people are superior to other people, and therefore the other people, just should die off because they're inferior. And letting it. Go ahead, Lamont.
I mean, just listen to what Bill O'Reilly said. That's kind of like what his thinking was.
What did he say?
Well, when he said he was on Sean Hannity radio show last week, and he said a lot of these people that are dying will basically had something else going on with them, or pretty much in their twilight years anyway. So, no loss.
Right.
It's out there.
Yeah, they were going to die anyway, right? People who have high blood pressure, people who have diabetes, people who are obese, people who are old, they're going to die anyway. And yeah, they're going to, old people, you can't escape death. People who have these so-called pre-existing conditions or chronic health problems, they're going to die younger, but that doesn't mean that we should put them out to pasture tomorrow. This is just nuts. But it is. This is, Lamont, you have absolutely put your finger on it. This is the survival of the fittest. And typically it is preached by people who believe themselves to be among the fittest. And, as Dr. Fauci said when Trump proposed this, he said, but people will die. And, I don't think that Trump really much gives a rat's ass about whether people die or not. Lamont, thank you for that. That was brilliant. Mary in Las Vegas. Hey, Mary, what's up?
Hey, Tom. Thank you for keeping me sane and informed. I'd like to add someone else to the list who probably alerted Trump to the virus. And could it be Moscow Mitch's wife? I mean, her family lives in China. She must have had some inkling as to what was going on early on.
I'm guessing, Elaine Chao is her name, and she's the Secretary of Transportation, and her father and mother own a massive shipping company that ships stuff all over the world, but they're based in Taiwan. She's Taiwanese, not Chinese. Ethnically it's very similar or the same, but Taiwan is a very different country. It's a democratic republic. But I'm guessing that, yeah, sure, she knew about it. But the fact of the matter is, Mary, that Donald Trump was being warned, and as well as the administration, but now the New York Times has the receipts. Donald Trump himself was warned back in November, December, January, February, and March of exactly what was going on. And Donald Trump just said, we'll do herd immunity. We'll survival of the fittest. That's our plan. Mary, thank you for the call. Dave in Federal Way, Washington. Hey, Dave, what's up?
Hey, not too much, Tom. Hey, I just wanted to say, as far as this herd immunity goes, this is a deep topic, all right? But I think it's a legitimate conversation. But I just want to go back real quick to, this Dunning-Kruger effect. And I know a lot of people have commented on it. You yourself have commented on it. But I just want to capture one thing real quick. Jefferson, who guest hosts for you every now and again, he made this comment one time. Jefferson Smith, he said sortition. Now, I did not know I never heard the word sortition before, okay? So the first thing I thought defensively is Jefferson's made this word up. I don't know it, so it must be made up. Now, does that mean I have Dunning-Kruger? No, not really. Even though that's awkward and unfortunate, and I learned that I'm not as smart as I think, all right, that is a normal reaction. Donald Trump, if he is in fact suffering from Dunning-Kruger, when he hears a word, or when a word is said that he does not know, he does not hear it. All right, he does not hear it. And then,
or he just makes up some definite. Donald Trump would say, "Well, that's what they do in the post office when they sort your mail," and he would just assert it with absolute confidence.
Yes, and let's say someone's close to Donald Trump, or someone's close to a person with Dunning-Kruger, and they try to baby talk them. Which I think is what Ivanka might actually be doing. They're running a great risk, all right, because they will appear condescending and even hostile to the person suffering from Dunning-Kruger at a certain point. Okay, they will appear hostile, and there will be animosity there. All right.
Right. For people who don't know what we're talking about, Dave, let me just interject here. Dunning-Kruger is a psychological syndrome where people believe themselves to be highly competent when in fact they are massively incompetent. And typically it's not limited to one particular subject area. Am I accurately characterizing that? And what does sortition mean, by the way?
Sortition is what Jefferson was talking about in the caucuses process. It's the way they select people during the caucuses.
Yeah. Okay, if you don't make 15%, et cetera. Okay, I didn't know that. I've heard the word, but I couldn't pull up a definition for you.
Well, and the reason why this Dunning-Kruger effect is so dangerous, when it comes to a biological organism or a virus or a pathogen, whatever you want to say, is because it develops in very unpredictable ways because of our general lack of knowledge, all right? Scientific knowledge. And the problem I see with conservatives, even though I think you nailed it where you said, when you were talking about containment, I think containment is obviously scientifically the better way to go. There's a couple of problems there with conservatives in general. And I've kind of noticed it with the attacks on Joe Biden lately about, how they're portraying Joe Biden as some sort of dictatorial figure, all right, that doesn't understand the Constitution. I just read an article about it this weekend. The problem
this is called projection.
Yes, they're projecting, and the problem is it costs a lot of money, long story short, to do containment. They're not going to want to do it. They're going to want to default back to prayer and this concept of social Darwinism. Let the weak perish, where the strong.
No, I get it, Dave, and they're already there. Dave, I needed to move along, but thank you for the call, Mark in Valley, Washington. Hey, Mark.
Yeah, hi, Tom. I was listening to your explanation of this mitigation process you were laying out, and the fact that it's that this virus is overwhelmingly taking out minorities and poor people. And people with, preconditions, and a lot of that can be genetic. It kind of sounds to me like the rich got together in the Western countries and devised a little Nazi superior race program.
You could argue that a dimension of this is essentially eugenics. Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking, because they know who it's going to take out. They probably already had bean counters, actuaries figure out percentage-wise, how many of each group will die.
Oh, I can see them sitting around going, okay, who's the most expensive group of Americans to sustain? Old people. They get sick, they get expensive illnesses. Most, in fact, I've seen statistics, I'm sorry, I don't remember the exact percentage, but some overwhelming percentage of your lifetime healthcare expenses are spent in the last 10 years of life. So let's blow off those people. Who's the second most expensive group of people to keep alive in America? People who have, who are seriously obese, people who have, significantly high blood pressure, people who are suffering from diabetes, whether it's type 1 or type 2. Those are the principal. There's others as well, people who are undergoing cancer treatment, chemotherapy, things like that. These groups, the 4 categories, and I'm sure there's more, but those 4 categories probably represent a disproportionate share of our total healthcare spending in the United States. So if you can kill off the old people quickly, and you can kill off the, quote, weak people quickly, then not only do you have the strong, healthy people left, but you also have eliminated, probably 20, 30, 40% of your national healthcare expense. So, yeah, Mark, it makes perfect sense. Maybe we should call it eugenics.